We are here today chatting with Scott. Scott is one of our former Family Source intended parents. Scott, it's definitely nice to meet you today, and I look forward to hearing all about your journey to fatherhood. So let me go ahead and begin by asking you, this is kind of a very specific question, but did you have a defining moment when you knew that you wanted to pursue fatherhood, and how did you kind of first hear about surrogacy?
So for me, I always wanted a child. It's something that I want, I've known my whole life. And I never met the right person. The pieces never fall into place. I never knew how it could actually work. And then one day I live in Kansas City, and we were at Kansas City Restaurant Week, and I was sitting next to another person that used Family Source consultants for their journey. And someone at the table was just asking him about the due date and how everything was going. And I kind of looked at him, and I knew him, but we had just kind of been mutual friends, so I didn't know his whole story. And when he's telling me that, my jaw dropped. I was like, oh my gosh, this can happen, because I feel like a lot of times in the Midwest, you hear, what's going on in New York City or LA or San Francisco, and you don't think, I can do this? Oh wow. And so everything just started clicking. And so we were actually sitting next to each other, which is really ironic. And so literally the rest of the table didn't matter anymore, what they're talking about. We just started our conversation about, wait, how does this work? Tell me all of the details. And I actually used you guys both for egg donor and also for surrogacy. So I used, he talked about the whole process and how it all worked. And so then the next day he sent me your contact information. And so I got right on it, and I sent you guys my information. And I was like, I was amazed that, wow, this can actually happen. This can actually occur. And then, like I said, I just started right in, filling out my applications, and then picking out, my egg donor, and then, of course, moving on to using you guys for my gestational surrogacy as well. So, but yeah, it was just that one night at dinner, just everything clicked. It was like everything just fell into place. So it was really great.
So whenever you began all this, did you have any fears or hesitations about working with a surrogate?
I think my biggest thing about working with a surrogate, I knew that I guess I was mainly worried about that they would take care of their body and take care of the baby, I think, because it's a total stranger, so you don't know, and it's just some random application. So I think that was kind of my big thing was, is this person going to do everything they need to do it? And then, what is their reasoning behind it as well? So I think those were kind of the two big things. And because I knew everything, legally would be taken care of, so they couldn't, take the baby and run or whatever. But which is actually my mom's biggest concern. She's like, what if they don't give the baby up? I'm like, they will. It was again later on the thing, like my surrogate, she has her own kids. She didn't want another one, but I think that was part of it too. But I think my big thing was just, I'm paying a total stranger to have my child. Are they going to take care of their body? Not smoke, do drugs, whatever, that sort of thing. So I think that was pretty much my biggest concern, I think.
Sure. Well, go ahead and tell us kind of a start to finish about your journey, and you can hit highlights, or you can tell as much detail as you want. So
you guys actually were able to line me up with a surrogate that actually lives in the state of Kansas. So I live in Kansas City. The surrogate lives in Hutchinson, Kansas. So it was about a 2.5-hour drive. And I was really glad when that happened, because for me, I wanted to be part of the pregnancy journey. So when I was doing the initial interview with my surrogate, I want to make sure that she was comfortable with me, attending like sonograms and just general doctor visits and all that, because I wanted to be there, from the very beginning, and she was very open to that. So, so that was really nice, and that was just, part of my journey that I was glad that I got to share with my surrogate. So yeah, I think that was a big thing. And then of course, I actually got to be there for the birth, so that was really nice. And the hospital was super, super great. She had her room, I had my room, and so then, after she had the baby, later she left that day. It was the weirdest thing. I'm like, why is she getting to go? And, we're staying there for 24 hours, and my son was born in January, and there was a snowstorm coming. So we're like, can we get out of here before we get stuck in the hospital through the snowstorm? So it's kind of a little thing. But yeah, I think, I was very fortunate. My surrogate, from the very beginning, was very open, honest communication. We have a lot in common, which is really nice, and especially as we continue to build our relationship, just talking about things we experienced, in high school and then in college, we had very similar stories and just similar backgrounds. And so it just, really excited me. And then of course, as I said earlier, she actually, mine was her 5th pregnancy. So she had had 4 kids. And so, you know, when I was saying, like, ooh, I hope she keeps, she's like, no. The fun of it is, like, I have enough kids here. And she also has a daycare on the side. She's like, the last thing I want is another child to take care of, you know. And so she was so glad. She has, and I do too, we both have, like, a really strong faith in, you know, in God. And so I think that kind of helped guide our journey as well. As, you know, we knew that there's an ultimate plan. And that kind of goes back to, you know, like the dinner, like, why was I sitting next to Will, who went through this, you know, like, it just all kind of fell into place. And then with her, it just kind of, it built that relationship to know that, and it, you know, that there was a strong, you know, faith there. And so it just opened up a lot of communications that we were able to, you know, build. And she was very honest. One of the biggest, I don't want to say disappointment, but initially we did implant 2 embryos, and they did both implant. And actually up until week 12, you know, she was pregnant with twins, and something between week 12 and week 13 happened, and one of them had stopped having a heartbeat. And it was just one of those things, you know, and I think that was like the biggest challenge, like, but luckily I was at the actual sonogram. And it's so funny is she's in a small town, and so she knew the sonogram tech, and she could tell when she was doing that something, like her face, the sonogram face changed. And, you know, she's like, I'm so glad that you were here for that, you know, when we found out that the ones didn't have the heartbeat anymore, because she said, I don't know how I would have made that call. She's like, that would have been the hardest call to make ever, you know, just to know. And so then it was all just focused on, you know, healthy baby. And that's actually, when I got into it from the very beginning, I didn't care. I was like, all I want is a healthy child at the end, you know. So, you know, that kind of played into there. But I think that was probably, with our surrogacy journey, I think that was probably the most challenging was at that point. So, you know, she was very lucky. She had a super supportive husband. So her husband actually went up to Chicago for implantation, and then he actually came to some of the different meetings, or some of the different doctor's appointments as well. So he was like always there, you know, to support her, which was really good because she had that really strong background, or that really strong support group. And then he was even there for the birth, not actually in the room, but I was in the room. But, you know, he was right outside he was in the waiting room with my mom and one of my best friends. They're all like, they got to know each other just because of that whole, like, when's the baby coming, you know, sort of thing. You know, but I think I feel like for me, it was just such a good match. And, you know, we just had such a great connection. You know, we're still in contact now. We text all the time. We're friends on Facebook and Instagram as well. So, you know, it's just, and she actually still, you know, asks, like, how's he going? Like, what's he doing? You know, and just she'll see different things and share it. So for me, you know, from the very beginning, from that first interview with her, I just like, it just clicked. You know, I was excited it was someone local-ish. You know, I was excited, you know, to hear her thing, you know, her own personal journey and kind of what brought her to the, you know, to where she was. And just, you know, she loves her family and so much that she wanted to, you know, be able to provide that to someone else. And I think that's with a lot of surrogates. That's the reason they get into it, is they have their family, and, you know, family is so important to them, and to be able to share that with, you know, either individuals like myself as a single person, you know, it's impossible, obviously, as a single person, you know, to do it on their own, you know, but to actually share that journey, and then just, you know, to be able to build a family was so important for her. And then, you know, and she knew, obviously, if you're going to put this much effort into it, because it's a lot of time and energy and money and just everything's just all involved in that. If someone's really do that, you know, they're going to actually really provide that good support for the family, you know, or for, you know, their child's going to be born into a family filled with love. And then, so I think that was so important for her too on that, you know, that she was matched up with me and I was matched up with her. That made like a really, really good connection. So
about that, you said she has a strong support system. Did you have a strong support system? And like, was there any obstacles with you being single?
For me, no. I have such a good, strong, and like my family was 100. Like they knew that I wanted a kid all along. And you know, I think when I came to them, it's like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I think they're telling me like, oh, you can do this. Like, you know, it's kind of like, yeah, you know. So I just think it's just for that it was really good. And then of course my friends, a lot of them, they had kids. You know, they're 5, 6, 7, and of course, you know, Uncle Scott's coming, yay, you know. So my friends they're like, oh my gosh, they were excited for me. So I felt like, you know, I really had that really good background and that really good network of both friends and family that was there to support me. I don't think anybody, I can't think of anybody that was like, what are you doing? Like, this is crazy. I did have one friend go, you do realize it's not a dog and you have to, it's going to be like a lifetime commitment. I'm going, yeah, he was just kind of being joking about it.
Right.
But I think that was and it wasn't really negative. It was just kind of like, are you sure this is what you want to do? And it was nice to kind of get someone, I don't want to say wasn't supportive, but kind of like, let's think about this and talk about this, make sure that you're going down the right path. But pretty much everybody else said no, all my life that I wanted kids. I was kind of laughing because when I was a kid, I was kind of obsessed with the sound of music, and so it's like I wanted like 7 kids. Like growing up, it's like I want 7 kids, or then like the Brady Bunch, something like maybe I'll just have a big family. So I always wanted like a really huge family growing up, and everybody always knew that. And then just obviously being gay is one that kind of adds an extra challenge into that. And then as a gay man, also trying to find somebody that wants to have kids can kind of be a little bit of a challenge. And I think that's part of the reason why just finally, when I turned 45, I was like, okay, it's time to do this. So I think that kind of also my age, and then just everything just kind of came together all at once. So, and I was like, okay, I'll just, I'll go on this journey on my own. And it's like, I was very fortunate that everything did fall into place. And, from the egg donation, all that, we ended up with, healthy, viable embryos, and then the implantation was successful, and everything was just, it turned out really great. And you guys actually there like all along the way too, so you guys are a great team. So I was so fortunate that my friend actually connected to you guys. I think a concern too is you hear a lot on the news about different companies that take your money, or they're not legitimate, or they're not honest, or they're not whatever. And I think that was one thing talking to my friend, that he eased that concern, because you hear people. I have friends that have given a lot of money for adoptions that didn't fall through, or that weren't even really legitimate, sort of thing. So. Right. I think it's so important when you do start this journey to do your research, make sure that you're working with a good, liable company that has a success record, but is going to be there to support you all along the way. And you guys did that amazingly, honestly. I mean, I can't speak highly enough. Even now, like Rhonda still reaches out to me, like, how's it going? How's everything? Things like that. So it's just, I think that is so important, as well.
So you're talking about your surrogate and how you had really good communication with her through the journey. Do you still keep in contact with her pretty close?
So my surrogate, we still keep in touch. I would say it's not, like daily or weekly or anything like that. I would say about once a month, she just kind of like, hey, how's it going? We are friends on Facebook, so she sees updates. A lot of times she's like, oh my gosh, it's like you're having so much fun, and things like that. And then Instagram, and then, we do, I wouldn't say, honestly, I don't think we've actually talked, like, and had a conversation, but it's mainly just through text and then, like, social media and stuff through there. But definitely, monthly we do some sort of, text or, how's it going? And she'll update me, on, like, their dog. I saw on her Facebook her dog ran away, so I was like, hey, did you guys find your dog yet? Things like that. So, that relationship there. So it's basically almost like a friend from high school or something that you talk to that you don't really talk to, and so we've still kept in touch, and, it's been really great and very, very beneficial to, to have that. And it's nice to know that she's still involved in my son, not directly involved, but indirectly involved in my son's life, like, like a friend or something like that would be that, like, say that you went to high school or college with. Mm-hmm. So it's really a great, we still have that really great connection and we stayed in touch.
Let me end with this question. Do you have any advice for intended parents who are just now starting the journey?
So my advice for one is be patient. Know it takes time. And that was one thing, especially with me. I was like, come on, when am I going to get connected? And then it's, all the medical background checks that it takes and the psychological checks. And just take your breath, take time, know it's going to happen. And I would say that was, and know there's going to be roadblocks. Know that, it's not going to be a smooth, easy journey. That there's going to be roadblocks. Just take a couple steps back, take a deep breath, know it's going to be okay, and then just like progress on. And I would say that would kind of be, my biggest things. And when it comes to your surrogacy journey, I would say make sure that you keep open, honest communication. If you have a question, ask. I was very fortunate. Mine sometimes overshared some things that maybe I didn't want to know about the female body and how it works and stuff. I was like, okay, that's good to know. But, but just, she was always like, you may not want to hear this, but this is what's going on, so, but, have that communication if that is something that's important to you, and have that up front with the company that's going to, that match you with your surrogate. Have that up front, let them know what your expectations are up front and from the beginning. And don't be afraid to say, I want, a weekly picture, or I want, you know, a text, or I want to know when different things, like when you first feel a movement, I want to know about that. You know, I think that that's kind of so important, and I think that's what was successful with my journey is from when I first started working with you guys, the family source consultants, on, you know, on what I wanted in a surrogate. I was very upfront, like these are the kind of my expectations. And then when you guys were out, you know, looking for a surrogate to match with me, you made sure that everyone's on the same page. Right. And then when you guys introduced us, we had our initial thing, and then when you guys actually gave the contact information that we could talk, my surrogate and I, we took that the next step forward and really made sure that she could provide to me what I needed and I could provide for her what she needed. And also remember that communication goes both ways. So, you know, and also know if she has a doctor's appointment at 1, she may not get to you till the next day. You know, I mean, just know too that even though you've agreed on certain things, she has life. Right. She's got things going on, and like my surrogate had kids, and she just, you know, she's at the doctor's appointment, and then she'd usually tell me like it's in the car, but sometimes, you know, like this or that. So just know life happens, and just be patient, and you know that in the end you're gonna hopefully have a, you know, happy baby or babies, and you know that's what's most important, is always focus on, you know, the end game, which is having a healthy child. So I think that's obviously all of us are on, you know, going on our own journeys, is for the end is to have a, you know, a healthy, happy child at the end. So
yes.